Okay, I'm going to hard stop that because we are on a tight ship from a time perspective. But watch the rest of that video. It's great. 3 days ago, we launched our first VLEO satellite, Clarity 1. Right now, literally right now in this moment, we are in the middle of a 3-minute ground station contact where we are commissioning or sending dark pixels through the payload electronics, which is a commissioning milestone that internally we did not estimate would happen until 10 days from now. So needless to say, we are ripping through commissioning, our mission ops team is crushing it, and things are going well. If that epic deployment video didn't do it for you, I'm also sweating up here in my launch jacket, so proof that we launched. This mock-up here is almost as big as the real thing, and shout out to the crew that brought this out. It's a big satellite. The upper 2/3 of that are the payload volume, where we currently have our telescope and sensors on Clarity 1. And then the bus precision we designed and built in-house for the demanding VLEO environment. And one real quick thing, we will have about 2 months that it will take for us to get from LEO to VLEO after we get through this commissioning. We'll pop the lens cap and get that first pristine picture. So we built the bus in-house. These solar arrays we build with very special coatings, surface treatments, and closeouts to mitigate the degradation from the atomic oxygen found in VLEO. We also leverage the high-sufficiency solar cells to compensate for the power loss that we get by keeping those solar arrays body-mounted. Basically, everything you see that you can't see on the back is covered in solar arrays, but they don't deploy out like traditional satellites, as we need a really slick cross-sectional area to rip through the atmospheric drag found in VLEO. We also have a ton of mass packed in there, and that further optimizes the ballistic coefficient. And with those 2 Hall effect thrusters that you see there on the bottom and the onboard xenon we have at launch, we are able to maintain an average 5-year mission life in VLEO, which fluctuates with the 11-year solar cycle. In contrast to the approach that China is taking for VLEO, where they are putting up small satellites with small optics that won't last very long and can't get very good data, we are exploiting this new frontier of VLEO to unlock 2 things that have previously been mutually exclusive: exquisite capabilities and low-cost satellites. Said another way, Albedo's architecture enables the inevitable platform shift to resilient, proliferated architectures, but without compromising on exquisite ISR capability. Really, the hardest part of that exquisite VLEO architecture is where our bus got its name: precision. We have industry-leading pointing and control capabilities, including things like minimizing jitter to under 100 nanoradians, and CMG-based agility, which helps with things like rapidly capturing a bunch of different small point targets with our coincidental 2 nautical mile swath, or capturing very large image areas. We can capture over 4 times the size of Manhattan in a single pass. These are things that are already hard in LEO with a big telescope, and then in VLEO, where the satellite's moving faster around the Earth, the Earth's rotation beneath it is moving faster relative to that, and the torques from the atmosphere are building up momentum faster, everything kind of dials up and makes that problem a lot harder. We've taken a holistic approach to our architecture by developing both the ground segment and the space segment in parallel from day one. You can create a ton of leverage when your trade space includes both of those. Our early customers, once Clarity 1 is ready to begin commercial operations, will integrate and order through our API. And I'm going to show you kind of a web-based playground of the API's current capabilities today through this kind of README interactive approach. And it has a realistic emulation of Clarity 1 in the background. So the first thing that we're going to do is simply just search and see for any area of interest that we care about, when is the next opportunity for Clarity 1 to get that image, both in terms of access and an order that hasn't been booked. We are going to use an airbase in Libya, and here we see it spits out. There's an opportunity coming up tomorrow and on Wednesday. So let's go ahead and order that. This is also a feature that's not very common today with satellite companies, which is surprising. But we're going to drop that same AOI in. This is Saba Air Base in Libya. It's a known site for foreign military activity, but it's not a super high priority, so it's probably not high up on the NTM priority list. We just submitted that order. It's a relatively small base, so we're going to use our minimum image size to capture that, which is a 1 kilometer circle. And we're also going to co-capture the infrared, so that will be $625 for that image. If we had, for example, wanted to see inside an airplane hangar, we've got this set of kind of expert level features and constraints we can put on that order. So if we had wanted to do that, we would have put a 45-degree elevation angle constraint in there. Our order is confirmed. It's locked in. We have a first in, first out model, so this is not going to get bumped, and we can check back later and check kind of cloud estimates and if weather estimates have changed. So now let's fast forward to tomorrow and see what's going to happen in space. This is a engineering simulation of a full orbit of clarity, 90 minutes, so it's sped up very fast. We upload an updated order book from our ground scheduler in that comms contact, including that order in Libya that we just submitted. And now we are cruising over nighttime ocean. This is actually our optimal cruise attitude for clarity. We want to minimize the exposure of the atomic oxygen into the open aperture on the optics, and we have that wedge-shaped front into the wind, which has benefits for the coefficient of drag. We've actually invented a new geometry at Albedo that we call the Bedo gun. Now that we're entering morning time, we generate some power so that we can turn on the thrusters for a few minutes of orbit maintenance. And now we're going to really carb load on power in preparation for these imaging activities over Africa. So we're going to start with a port in South Africa, a power substation in Johannesburg, mining operations in Botswana, border security in Zimbabwe, deforestation in the Congo Basin, a rebel camp at the CAR border, a refugee crossing in South Sudan, a weapons convoy in Darfur, some action on the Chad-Libya border. Now, the image that we just tasked, that airbase in Libya. We're also going to pick up the spot that they shot season 2 of White Lotus in Sicily, some power lines in Italy, some natural gas pipelines in Germany, and some more pipelines in Germany. So now we will pipe that data down, and within 5 minutes, those pixels will be processed to whatever format the user specified and delivered via download, stream, or to the user-specified cloud storage bucket, all within 5 minutes. So that took a little over a day, day and a half. Best case, if we've been pinging that Access Opportunity API, we could have realized an opportunity right before the ground station contact, and then it would be about an hour. Eventually, as we launch more satellites, the average gap time will come down. With one satellite, it's about 3.5 days. And then when we add optical relays, that latency will go from that kind of hour on average closer to a few minutes. Let's see what we got. So this is simulated imagery. This is a zoomed-in version of that 1 kilometer circle that we captured, so just a small portion of it. We see that there is some active construction going on here, which is interesting because this base is pretty mellow. We can see with our infrared that this gas compressor is operating, so maybe we have some pattern of life analysis that we can compare that to. In another portion of that image, we see this airfield, and we see some MiG-25 fighters or Foxbats. That's expected. This base is known to house those. We see this one in the top right is actually taking off because of that shadow you can see behind it. A little confusing. There's a Boeing passenger plane here. Not really sure what that's about. And then we see these fuel tanks. And what's really powerful is not only that this infrared that we co-collect is the highest resolution in its class, but it's the ability to fuse the two together. Here we can see that this airplane engine is actually on because that tail is hotter than the rest of the plane. We can see that this Foxbat is off because we know what the signature looks like when it's on, and we can see inside these fuel tanks. The left is empty, and the right is full. So that gives you a sense of some examples, even just from visual inspection of what this level of resolution can do, and then paired that with analytics, and there's even more intelligence that we can pull out there. But very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us. We are Albedo.